Every day of his life is filled with prayer, study, and good deeds. To Rabbi Yonah Geller, religion without moral integrity is hollow, and a life of good deeds without religion would have been unnatural. For 40 years, Yonah and Liesl Geller have embraced a life of service.
It's a beautiful life. You're always part of everything. You always see people. You try to help people. You make friends.
Rabbi Geller's grandfather from Galicia was a rabbi, and his father was a rabbi at a shul in Galveston, Texas. Yonah was born to Max and Sadie in Houston in 1920. As a boy, Yonah went with his father to every wedding and funeral. He would choose to follow in his father's footsteps, and in many ways he would come to resemble his father.
Father lived through the Depression, and his whole function in life was to help people less fortunate than he was. And he did many, many great, wonderful things for people who were really had terrible times during the Depression. My sense of value, my father's value was always to be able to serve, to do something for others. That's what his whole philosophy was. He had a smile, he had a good nature, wonderful natured man. And my mother was a very intelligent woman. And my mother just died, 2 years ago. She was 100 years old, That I felt a deep sense of responsibility to be able to help others. And I felt also that the rabbinate was a profession that permitted you to do this. I can see people in a hospital where other people can't even get in their rooms. I can go, I have the responsibility of trying to give people comfort and solace when they have a terrible bereavement. These are the I can share the joy with a person when they have a newborn baby, or with their bride when they're getting married. This is my philosophy, to be able to serve, and to serve it to the best of my ability to make life better for others.
After serving a shul in Corpus Christi for 16 years, Rabbi Geller sought the challenge of a new shul. He and Liesl came to Portland with their 3 children in 1960.
I got a phone call one day from the Placement Bureau of the Yeshiva University saying to me that there's a pulpit in Portland, Oregon, a very fine synagogue that was an old synagogue that was founded in the early 1900s, and it's been suffering a tremendous crisis. It's had 3 rabbis in 5 years. 1960, we arrived in Portland on a day like today. It was 199 degrees we arrived in Portland. It was terrible. That weekend was the hottest I can ever remember. And it was hard work to get the synagogue together, to bring all the loose ends together. There was 2 generations at that time. It's 1960, you still had the first generation Americans, you had the young Americans, you had the older people who are still European born, and you had to blend them together. It was a real challenge. But it was a challenge that I enjoyed, because I enjoyed working with people, and I found it very gratifying and very satisfying.
Rabbi Geller created harmony in his shul and harmony in the community.
When I came here, I was told that there was such an animosity between the congregation and the rabbis that some of the rabbis didn't even speak together. Okay? Fortunately, Rabbi Rose arrived here just a few months before I did. So he was a new man here too. And Rabbi Stanford had been here just maybe 3 or 4 years. And when I arrived in town, they were very warm and cordial. And so we formed a board of rabbis. And we established a rapport, and we've maintained that rapport.
Aaron Battels is the current cantor at Shara Torah, but during the past 40 years, Rabbi Geller has also worked alongside cantors Glantz, Greenberg, Silverman, and Jerry Berkowitz.
And then finally David Rosenberg arrived on the scene. And he was of the group, he was the cream of the crop. He was the best we ever had.
I think one of the main reasons that I decided to come to Portland and to Shari Torah was because of Rabbi and Liesl. When I came for my tryout that weekend, they impressed me as very Menschlichkeit type people, honest, caring, modest, and they made me feel very, very welcome.
One of the aspects of the rabbinate that one really enjoys most of all is always to be able to share happy events with people. I don't know how many bar mitzvahs and bat mitzvahs that I officiated at during the course of the 40 years at Shari Torah, and I wouldn't even make an estimate. And I really can't, I have a record of every wedding, and I didn't count, but I would just off the top of my head say that in the 40 years that I was here, that I must have had anywhere from 300 to 400 weddings. That would be within the goal. And each wedding was a special occasion of its own, and a happy and joyous event of its own.
One of the great experiences he had was to serve as a Jewish chaplain at the National Boy Scout Jamboree that was held 2 years in a row in Idaho. For an entire week, there were 30,000 Boy Scouts and Scout leaders of every faith. Every morning and afternoon they had minyans. Friday night they had a service with not only Jewish Scouts but non-Jewish Scouts as well. Services were also held on Shabbos morning.
It was really an exhilarating and uplifting experience. We did this 2 years in a row, dressed in a Scout uniform, and I got young again.
(1969). Only 2 years after the Yom Kippur War was Yonah Geller's first trip to Israel. He flew there with 150 other rabbis on a UJA mission. Then again in 1970, just after the Yom Kippur War, Rabbi Geller joined a Portland delegation to Israel. His years of experience consoling hospitalized and grieving Shari Torah members and their families prepared him for the many visits to the military camps, hospitals, and outposts. That same spirit of understanding that helped his congregants back home found a receptive ear and open heart in his fellow Jews in the Jewish state. Yonah attended Yeshiva University from 1936 to 1944. Before he had completed his 8 years of training, he met Liesel at a square dance in New York. Liesel had fled Vienna with her family and was educated in Paris. On the day Hitler entered Paris, they boarded a ship for South America. They were stranded on the ocean for 3 months, and finally they went ashore in Montevideo.
But the night before they were supposed to take us back to Europe, my daddy put on his kittel and they davened all night long, and the next morning we were saved. I had some girlfriends, so we'd go different places to meet people. But this was a lucky moment.
She spoke with a beautiful French accent, because French was a tongue of the, and that was very impressive. And she was a beautiful, beautiful girl. And she was very, just lovable, I mean, and so I was very much impressed, put it that way, no question about it.
What can I tell you? We were very much in love.
Liesel has always been known for her good works and her refusal to accept any acknowledgement.
What to talk about it? No.
There's no excuse.
You don't talk about things you do. Well, if somebody needs a kosher meal, I'm always glad to do it, you know.
I have been in the hospital several times, one time during Pesach, which was a little difficult because the hospital, they didn't know what they should give me. But Liesel came with the dishes, with the soup, with the chicken, with everything for me to have for Pesach.
Rabbi Geller tells parents, when you have children, you devote all your energy to the children.
My responsibility was raising the children.
I tried to teach them the values of, well, a number of values. First of all, integrity was one of them. Honesty was another. I also demanded excellence in education, and they knew that. I mean, there was no fluffing off. They had to do their best. If they didn't do their best, I went to school to find out why. If he got a bad grade in something, I went to school. I went to the teacher. What happened here? Why?
The rabbi and Liesel have 3 children. Ivan, their eldest son, now lives in Denver. He attended the yeshiva also and became a rabbi. Then he wanted to be in education, so he took a job as educational director of a large synagogue in Denver, and while there, he decided he wanted to be a doctor. So in 1980, he completed medical school, and now he and his partner have the largest gerontology practice in the state of Colorado. Their second son, Mark, was bar mitzvahed in Portland, went to Lincoln High School, graduated top student in his class, and was accepted at Princeton, where he earned a doctorate degree. Later, he attended Brandeis and took Mediterranean Studies, and currently is the head of the Department of Judaic Studies at the University of London. The greatest event that ever happened in their family was the birth of their daughter, Soretta. There's a special kind of love that Liesel has for her daughter. She's exactly what you would want from a daughter. She's caring. She's concerned. She takes care of things. The rabbi once said that if you haven't got a daughter, you don't have a family. Rabbi says that the greatest pride one has is the interest he gets on his investments, and that's his grandchildren. 2 of their grandchildren graduated from Harvard, and now one has his MBA from Stanford. They have a granddaughter who is involved in composing Jewish music, and a grandson who is a straight A student.
I think the most fulfilling times of my life was the years I spent here in Portland. There's a really the fulfilling part. The years I love the city here. I love the climate. I love the people here. I've always felt very comfortable here, and never felt it was a chore or a duty. It was something I did because I wanted to do it and enjoyed doing it.